Hey, pals, welcome back to the show. What is this, episode 79?
79.
We're
I'm
getting
feeling
up there.
fine.
We're getting up there.
We're finally at retirement age. Good old
yeah.
79.
Good old 79, and I'm Matt, and as always, I got Monk with me, and
Howdy.
we're here to chat some comics, and we got quite a doozy of a list to get through today.
We sure do. This is our third episode of this year, and I don't think we had like any crossover the past couple weeks. And this week is like almost all crossovers. So that's really exciting because it's been nice to do like single, like individual reviews, but you know, I love chatting comics with my pal. So it's so nice to,
especially ones we both read. It's always good to get each other's take.
Before we get into that, though, I just had a weird thought. Peek behind the curtain. Before Mad and I go live, we like to do like this fun little breathing exercise, which is just 3 breaths, and then we do them simultaneously to get synced up.
Deep breaths.
And deep breaths, not just like 1, 2, 3. But I was thinking, you know, because so much of the time that I do this, I'm just looking at you on a screen. But when I was doing that, I was thinking about you sitting in a, like, not like being in real life, you know, that you're out there somewhere, just, you're not this fake person on my screen, but you're like an actual guy sitting in a chair, like 3,000 miles in the opposite direction, you know? And like, thank God for the glories of the internet that you can, like, you know, that we can do this because, you know, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do this when we first met.
10 years. Well, I mean,
okay,
like 10 years ago, there was like everybody was using Skype.
That's true. We could have done this over Skype and then just been like, hey, do you hear me? Do you hear me now? Am I breaking up? Am I clear? All right, I'm gonna turn off my video so that you can hear my audio better.
Oh, the good old days. But no, it's cool. It is cool that we just have platforms like this these days that we can just have a little meet.
Yeah, it is very cool. And I was also thinking about MySpace earlier and how like kids these days, you know, they're addicted to social media, but they're not addicted to social media like we were, where like we had to sit in school and like itch our skin and like get ready because we didn't have cell phones that had MySpace on them, you know?
We had to run home.
We had to run home and check our stuff. And I always love to tell this story about like when I would hang out with my friends, we would like sit around my buddy's computer, all taking turns, like logging into our MySpace for like 5 minutes at a time and, you know, doing whatever. And it just felt like we were junkies sitting around in a circle, just being like, all right, it's my turn. It's been 5 minutes. Let me go.
I got to see if I'm on somebody's top 8.
I can see if I got some picture comments for picture comments. But yeah. Just, you know, the good old days of early internet.
Ooh. Sorry. Just cracking up my Waterloo.
You got a Waterloo? I have a vitamin water that I just put normal water in the bottle. Does that count as a Waterloo?
No, that is a fake vitamin water.
Hey, I would say that I could argue that water is the best vitamin water, if you know, probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, water itself doesn't have any vitamins in it.
Yeah, but what is vitamins but not nutrition?
Yeah.
Health? Life itself.
Stuff. But
God is in the
water. Water is the most essential thing that we need. So
yeah, I think
basic water.
Well, what are you gonna do? So I had one last thought before we get back into our pools, and this isn't related to the early days of the internet, but it is related to the early days of the Pullbox Pals and how we used to read this comic called Chicken Devil. Do you remember
Yeah.
Chicken Devils? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I see you're having the same realization that I had. So I was walking around my shop today, and for some reason Chicken Devils popped into my head, and I was like, when's the last time an issue came out? And I'm like, I didn't miss one, did I? And so like I went up to my comic book guy and I was like, hey, what's the deal with Chicken Devil? Did I miss an issue? And he's like, no, nothing has come out. And I was like, well, when was the last issue? I'm like, it had to be like fall of last year. And we ended up looking it up. Can you remember when it came out?
September?
Nope. Take another wild guess.
October?
No, it came out in June. Yes. So it has been over 8 months since the last issue of Chicken Devils is gonna come out.
What?
How does that happen? I have no idea, but I mean,
I
I don't.
gotta look into this a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I know Aftershock is going through all of its things, and we've been talking about that for over a year too. But it's just insane to me that and I said this to my comic book guy, I'm like, how the mighty have fallen. Because Chicken Devil, for both of us, I think it would have made our top 10 the first year. That it would have been, even if we didn't have a list in the year that it came out, it would have been on those lists. You and I both
Yeah.
absolutely adored those comics. But man, how it's just pitted off so poorly. But I was just thinking about that, and I wanted to share it with the rest of everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. What are you finding out
Wow.
over there?
So the last issue of the second arc, yes, the most recent issue came out June 21st,
Yeah,
and the final issue of this arc comes out next month.
that's insane. For as big of a comic that was, and I don't understand why it wouldn't have just been pushed through.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know how I don't know that inside baseball, but yeah.
Yeah. No. And
Um,
that one definitely kind of just like fell off the path for me. Like I don't even like I barely remember reading the last issue. I
right.
think I probably know more about issue 1 than I do about issue 4 of Chicken Devils.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, like, because I just love that comic so much, and it was such a top tier comic for me, and
Yeah.
not and the second one, we both kind of felt very like it was just drawn out, but yeah, because the first arc was so rapid paced, but now, it's been 8 months, 7 months, something like that. It's wild.
Yeah. No, it's been a little bit. It's been more than a minute.
Yeah. So, all right, but let's get into some pools. But before we do that, we got some people saying hi in the chat. We got Comic Unknown saying, "Hey guys, so glad that you were able to make it tonight." Well, he said, "Hey guys," I added all that other stuff, and then we got John Eaple saying, "What's up, everybody? What's up is that we're about to get into some comic books. That's
Yeah.
what's up."
So I assume you went to your shop today and got some comics.
I did. Do you want to let everybody know your situation while I take a nice drink of this here vitamin water, which is just normal
Yeah.
water?
While you take that nice, refreshing drink of water, I'll let everybody know that I went to my shop today and they let me know that the delivery was going to be late and they weren't entirely certain when it was coming. And they get a couple different orders, and one of them that usually comes on Monday came yesterday or today. So they're thinking it'll be tomorrow or Friday that they'll come. So I probably won't have my comics till this weekend.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But
Yeah.
because, I mean, actually, that's a perfect little segue right there into my comics for multiple reasons. Because you were literally just talking about your pools. And also, I was so excited with the stack that I got this week. It's just all like, I won't say all the comics that I like want to be reading because they're currently back there on that shelf, but these are like definitely the ones that like probably on the top for me right now. So it was really great that they
Ooh.
all kind of like came out in one week. And I also just got a random number one. So I'll just point that one out real quick. It's Crashdown from
Ooh, I
Massive
like that
Studio.
cover.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the cover. The inside art is also a lot of fun. I'll try to pull up a page with a lot of stuff happening. It just, yeah, it looks like kind of like the outlines of like neon light or something like that. It's just very
Yeah.
interesting, the art style that
Oh,
they chose to go with. Like the outline seems to be in white to contrast the black background. And I really think that's cool. So yeah, it says on the back from Whatnot Publishing. So I guess I was wrong and maybe saying Massive was the publisher.
I think Massive and Whatnot are the same thing,
Okay,
or maybe it's kind of like Massive might be what like Skybound is to Image.
right. Okay, or just a
Um,
subsidiary. Oh wow,
yeah,
look at me
yeah,
using $10 words. Um, but
that
yeah,
was $9.99 actually.
oh, well, inflation. Um, but this next one, I bet you're gonna be really bummed that you didn't get this one for multiple reasons. A, because we absolutely love this comic, and B, this cover is phenomenal. It's Midnight Western Theater's Witch Trial #5. I
Yeah,
absolutely love this.
no,
It looks so good.
I knew that that one was supposed to be coming in today, and so that probably out of all the ones I believe I'm going to be getting, that is the one I'm most bummed to like not have in my hand yet because I
Yeah,
was looking forward to reading it tonight.
and that's the finale. So we'll be
Yeah,
chatting that in 2 weeks because we got something lined up next week.
that is
Hint, hint,
correct.
wink, wink.
Nudge,
This next
nudge.
comma. I don't know why I said that. Anyways, next, this is a comic that there's been a little bit of a gap in between it, but not too bad. And I just love this comic, so super excited. I do believe that this is the end. It is. I just went to the last page. It said the end. It is Banshees.
Ooh,
This comic is so
number
original.
5.
#5. Yeah. So it's such an original concept, like just a really fun twist on maybe, just the kind of I said an original concept, but original concept on like a classic trope of like college and like paranormal stuff. So yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, just a good solid read through the whole thing. Happy to get my hands on that. And those two were
Yeah.
from Scout Comics. The next
Oh,
three are from Boom.
you keep going. I will be right back.
Alrighty, I will just do my little monologue here. So the next comic that I got is Lotus Land. Uh, like I said, all of these comics that I've got this week were like ones that I was really looking forward to, but this one is probably like the lowest on that tier, mostly just because the main premise doesn't really stick with me too much. So it's nice to it's I've been enjoying it, but like I said, every time that I kind of go to it, I kind of have to refresh myself on what the idea is. And it's an idea that like the main idea is that there's this cop who has like this ability to kind of tell the future or like see how things became. He has some sort of like psychic power. And he retired, it hasn't really said this outright, but he's retired because of just like the weight of like these experiences of like having to, similar to like Chew, where he when he ate something he would have the experiences of him. He didn't really want to eat because he didn't enjoy having all of that sensory overload, and I can tell that that's how the cop kind of feels in this comic.
And
um
what was sorry? What was that? Lotus something?
Lotus Land #3.
Lotus Land. Cool.
And these covers have just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed those covers. I haven't been reading that, but
Mhm.
yeah, the covers for it are excellent.
Yeah, and just because these two have literally been like running concurrently with each other, they're both from Boom, and they both have great covers and just great little stories. This is Slow Burn #4. This I really love just because
That
it's
is
about.
another amazing cover.
I know it's so good, and what's great is that this old man here, he has like dementia, and so just a lot of, I'm assuming that's what a lot of this imagery is. And as I talked about before in the past about this comic, is that there's a lot of there's 4 people in it, 5 because somebody goes to be with Jesus, and uh and each issue is from a different person's perspective and kind of filling in their story while continuing the main story. So again, it's just super well written, like a cool idea. And I love when writers kind of subvert how they have like the main character of who you assume it's going to be.
Mhm,
Yeah,
yeah.
I always just think that that's a lot of fun of just playing around with that. And then the last thing I got is something that it's been a minute, and this is just a little fun comic. It's Zawa and the Belly of the Beast, about these kids that live in like this dystopian future, and they find this beast that lives in like the heart of the mayor's mansion or something like that. And it's yeah, they're it's like an urban legend, this beast that lives in this mayor's mansion, but they find it and they discovered that it's actually very nice and friendly once it has food. So it's kind of like an opposite of what are those things called you're not supposed to feed after midnight? What was that movie?
Gremlin.
Gremlin. It's like an opposite of a
Yeah.
gremlin. Yeah.
Mm.
So
So
yeah, that
feed it after midnight.
yeah, or just feed it all the time and it'll be happy, or just feed it after midnight. But yeah, I'm happy with every single one of those pulls. So it was a good week for me.
Nice.
I also ordered the Two Graves trade paperback. I started
Oh,
reading
nice.
that comic digitally, and I posted a post on Instagram talking about how um, uh, I've been trying to read like a couple chapters from a trade paperback at night before going to bed, so I'm not just like doom scrolling on my phone, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, and yes, so I bought this because I really just wanted to see how it ended. I really enjoyed the start, so I'm waiting for that to come in the mail, but that'll be probably my next like bedtime read.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just feel like I monologued for like the last like 6 minutes. So why don't you tell us about this first comic that we're going to be getting into together while I have another sip
Yeah.
of this rich vitamin water?
Yeah. So a little while back, we kind of, I feel bad. We kind of let this one slip through the cracks. But we finally got to it. It's called Exodus Z, and it is written by, I believe it's Jorge Alvarez. The artist and inker is John Eppel. Colorist is Edgar Wolf, and it's lettered by Nikki Powers and edited by Glackbar. Um, but yeah, so they had reached back out to us and asked how, like, if we had read it yet, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry, we haven't gotten to it yet." And so I sat down and read it like instantly, and just first off, like I was really drawn by the art. Like the art was
Hmm.
just very unique to the
Hmm.
story. Um, it was just
Very
kind of
fitting for the story, I feel too.
like very very fitting for the story.
Yeah, I can pull it
And
up.
yeah, it had its own vibe, and I just absolutely loved it. But also, like, one of the other things I love about when creators send over their comics to us is like I really don't know what I'm getting into. Like I haven't
Hmm.
read like a pub summary for it. There hasn't been any like like comicbook.com like putting out like hey, this is coming out and this is who's doing it and blah blah blah. And so I always love having the surprise of the whole story. And this one ended up just being really fun.
Hmm.
Um what I like I guess one of the other things I really enjoyed about it was just like not knowing about it and then seeing where it went. And
Hmm.
essentially what's going on is it opens up with like these people trying to get away from zombies that are chasing them. They're running towards a church, but the church has already started their service and like boarded up the doors, and they finally get in. And then as the preacher is like giving the sermon, he like kind of I think he opens like a portal or
Hmm.
something
He
that
so
leads.
it's he's like let's say surrendering his spirit. He's aware that his
Yeah.
time has come, and he's kind of like getting in a meditative state to like just, die. And
Yeah.
as he's doing that is when these zombies kind of overtake him. And I love in comics or any sort of medium where something that like we all kind of have a gut feeling is supposed to go right goes wrong. Like
Mhm.
one of my favorite examples is I don't know what it's from, but there's a story where Hulk, like in Marvel Comics, becomes like the embodiment of evil after like
Yeah.
destroying like everything else. And at the end of time, he meets like his antithesis of like a being of pure light and goodness. And like in
Mhm.
his rage, he just like destroys this other being, and the Hulk destroys this being of light, and the whole time the being of light is like, no, this isn't supposed to be how this goes. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so dark, and like it's so amazing how that can sneak in like that, and just like you don't know that you have this like settled kind of belief that okay, this is how it's supposed to go, and then like when it's subverted, it's always done in a
Well, yeah.
pretty
I
way.
mean, it's like I just recently rewatched Infinity War, and it's kind of like that,
Mm,
like you kind of expect, like, I think we all knew with Infinity War, like
yeah,
Thanos was going to probably win at that, but still the way that it was filmed there at the end, you were still in just as much shock and awe as like the Avengers were, and like, wait, what just happened? Like, what's going on?
right.
And that's kind of the feeling that, yeah, I got from Exodus Z, as yeah, the preacher, what did we decide? Did we say he opened a portal?
Yeah, well,
So
yeah,
as
essentially, he's
essentially, like, as people are being attacked by zombies, these people start going up to meet Jesus, as you would say. And but somehow the zombies get on like the Golden Gate Road to heaven's gates,
Mm,
and now zombies have infiltrated heaven. And that's the other part, is like some angels like thought that they got rid of the zombies and got them back down to earth, but like some guy had gotten bit, I think, right at the end, and he got through the
right.
gates. And
Yeah,
so it is just like really exciting to like look forward to, like, oh my gosh, there's zombies in heaven, like what's gonna happen?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and like just like the I don't want to say fail, I guess the fail safes that they have put in place to like to try to kind of stop something like this from happening, and the fact that
mhm.
like so they get to like the golden, well, I don't want to spoil too much of this because I kind of like to see how it goes, but they're even in like well, I guess I don't, while there's something that happens before people get to the pearly gates, and it's similar in tone to what we were just talking about, of just like seeing people who are like rightfully about to go into heaven, but it's like, no, you can't go in because you have to, sorry, but we can't have zombies in heaven, you know.
Yeah.
um yeah, so I just thought it was so cool. I just really enjoyed it, and like we said earlier, I think just the art is so fitting of this world and just the circumstances that the people find themselves in, you know.
Well, and
So
even like the panel layout,
mhm.
like the way that it's done, there's let's see, I don't know which page it is, probably about page 9 or 10, where one of the panels is like a window's being broken in, and that panel's kind of skewed a little bit,
Right.
like not
Yeah.
in line with the rest of them. Like, I love that little detail. Um
Mhm. Oh, yeah, here, I just found it. I'll pull it up real quick. Yeah, I just, and again, like, cool paneling, like, good stuff, you know? You always love when this right here. So it's great. It
yeah,
looks like
that's
it's,
it.
knocked it a little bit out. That's so fun. And yeah, just I feel like just all this flows so well. It's, very good
Mhm.
job to the whole team involved.
Yeah. And speaking of the team, for all of you listeners out there, the team behind Exodus Z has given us a little discount code. So if you'd like to go get yourself a copy of this, you can go to, I believe it's comicsunknown.com.
Yes, sir.
And if you enter the code pullboxpals at checkout, you'll get 10% off. And I don't think it's just for Exodus Z. I think it might be for the store in general, for everything
Yep.
that they got. So
Yep. So this is the website. I just pulled it up on the video feed if you're watching, so you can check out a couple of previews here for Exodus Z, and then yeah, just check out under the books in the shop everything they have. Maybe even get a friend a gift card, and then when you're logging out, just go ahead and type in the Poolbox Pals. It's all linked in the episode description, episode show notes. So just click on through there and support some awesome people who were super kind enough to think of us. That's great. This is our first discount code, so
yeah,
that means a lot to us. So
I
thank
was
you
real
very much.
excited when we got it. I was like, we got a discount code.
That's right. Next, we're coming for Omnibus. That's my next goal, is we're gonna somehow get a discount code for Omnibus. But
That'd be fun.
that's high dreaming. But we need to start somewhere, and so I thank the guys over at Comic Unknown, the rest of all the crew, just for being dope. And yeah, I again, like, we've talked about this a lot towards the end of last year, but it's so fun just meeting people and just having these connections and getting to see this stuff. And like you said earlier, just who knows what this is? It just got dropped in my lap, and it's just so cool to
Yeah.
see how, like, and again, I think this is such an original idea. Zombies get into
Yeah.
heaven. I've never heard of that before. And I like,
Yeah.
even comic that we'll talk about later, it's just so fun to see people using zombies and doing fun stuff with them on top of everything, you know?
Yeah.
So
And then speaking of, I believe they said that they're working on issue 2 and hoping to have it out this summer.
right.
So yeah, just pay attention to them. You can follow them on Instagram at Comic Unknown as well, just
Yep.
to keep up with what they're doing. So
Yep. And yeah, and so okay, so John April is the inker slash
yeah,
artist, and he says, if you guys like that, I've already started on number 2. So go ahead and start on number 3 because we're gonna be reading it.
yeah, we'll be watching out for that. So yeah, thanks again, guys. Well, something ended this last week.
Was it an Enfield? I guess
It
that
was
doesn't
an
really work.
Enfield. It kind of works. We'll roll
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Gang
part of
massacre.
the yeah, the Texas massacre or Texas. Shoot,
that
I'm
that
getting
Texas
them all mixed up.
that
That
Enfield
Texas blood,
that Enfield Gang Texas blood
that Enfield
massacre.
chain massacre.
That Enfield chain blood massacre.
um, but yeah, this
Wow.
it's wrapped up, and this was kind of just a little offshoot of that Texas blood, something that's more of a prequel. You know, one thing I will say about this series that I love most was, and I've said it before, was just the craft behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like just down to the paper of them using newsprints to make it seem old timey. Like I love that. Like, smelling it just like was really fun for me because it's like, oh, it smells old.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this feels like something you would find in Grandpa's attic.
Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, the art's just impeccable.
Yep.
And so that was Phillips, correct? Jacob
Yep.
Phillips.
Jacob Phillips.
And then Chris Condon wrote it. And these guys are just, they're an all-star team.
Yep.
They've worked on a few different series together. But that Texas Blood in its own right is just amazing. And so it was really fun to get into that world, but in a different aspect of it, something that kind of leads up to what that Texas Blood is.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've said a little bit too much about it. What are your thoughts?
Man, it's so hard for me to relay how I feel about this comic because I think I had such expectations for it and didn't allow it to be what it is.
Yeah.
I That being said, I 100% agree with everything that you've said so far in regards to the quality of the craftsmanship behind this is next level, of people that were very intentional and knew what they were setting out to do, and
Yeah.
were disciplined enough to make that come to fruition. That being said, I feel like this would have done better if it had 2 more issues where I think the problem with this is that we start an Enfield's gang, and the situation that sets everything off happens in issue number 1, which is fine, but a lot of the things that are important for the weight of the situation don't get to be dived into because everything kicks off so quickly.
Yeah.
So I think if they would have done 1 issue where it maybe even just 1 issue more. Maybe I definitely think that they could have consolidated this down to 5 and then done redone issue number 1 where it's Enfield setting up his gang, falling in love, whatever order that comes in because we don't know, there's kind of some hints that they came down there together, but was there a gang before that? Like where was he even from? And again, it might have said that, but it wasn't driven home. And my biggest complaint about it was that there's a reveal of a traitor in the midst, and there's no real weight to it because I don't know who that person is. He's just, to me, he just happens to be one of the last 3 people alive in this situation. And so that I'm like, I feel like that could have, again, an issue number 1 where you see this guy talking to Enfield and seeing how he's all in on the gang, and then over time he gets weary of it or whatever, we don't see that, and a lot of that explanation is post the situation happening, so it's kind of like a bad guy monologue situation where he's like, here's why I did everything evil that I did. Whereas like I would have rather seen that logically play out in front of me, but
Yeah.
again, I think a lot of this was spoiled for me just because I had such high expectations for it, that it fell short of that. And all I can think about when I think about it is how it fell short, not how much I enjoyed it. I think
Yeah.
I'm 100% going to buy the trade paperback when it comes out because I think that that's going to be the right way to consume this. Just
I wonder if the trade will be on newsprint too.
I would imagine so. I don't know why they would, not, and it'll be $20 or something like that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I I did enjoy it. I don't think it will be on my end of the year. It wasn't on my last year's list, so it's I don't want to say it's a shame. I don't want to say it's a misstep. Everyone is allowed. They've done 3 consecutive great arcs of that Texas
Mhm.
blood. And so, they tried something really new here. Yeah, if you'll allow me to just keep talking for a second, I just remembered my favorite thing is that this kind of shows how Edinburgh, is that what it's called? County? The county
No,
that this
Ambrose.
Ambrose. Ambrose County, it kind of shows how this gets cursed. This issue
Mhm.
kind of shows what,
Yeah.
because in that Texas blood, something that they go back to a lot is like, this land seems unright. Like something
Yeah.
happened here to kind of screw things up. And uh I what I really loved about it, which is like so how these guys write, is it's very down to earth. It wasn't like
Mhm.
some voodoo witch came out of like a shed and was like, "I shaking my stick and smacked the ground and now it's cursed." It was a woman in great sorrow, uh, cursing the men who killed an innocent man. You know,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, and I sorry I just monologued forever on that as well, but that's how I feel. How do you feel
Yeah.
about how I feel?
I mean, it kind of lines up with how I'd expect you to feel. Like you really enjoy that Texas Blood. You got me on it. I haven't finished the third volume yet. It's it's on my to do list. But like I also because it wasn't something for me that I was discovering, but something that was recommended to me. I feel like I was able to put Enfield Gang Massacre into its own place.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. I really did enjoy it. Like, will it be at the top of my list at the end of the year? I don't know. I doubt it. There's just we're so early into the year to even be
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah, I think I'm just
what's
thinking
going to be
about
on
that
that
because it
list.
just happened.
Yeah, but I mean, it was on my list for last year of just one of the comics that I've been really enjoying this year. Like I knew it wasn't going to be done by the time we had our top 10 list done. But yeah, I just really liked it. The art was, like I said, just absolutely like breathtaking, especially in this last issue. Like how much I love when it's just panels and no dialogue, and
Yep.
the
Same.
panels just tell the story.
Yep.
And I loved how this issue really capitalized on that to just really evoke the emotion of what was going on.
Mhm.
Um,
That's
and
true.
so
I
I
will say
really,
that like that I did feel like I would always get sucked in, and I never
mm,
felt the I did really feel like I was just watching this happen in front of me, and maybe that's why there was some confusions because you're not getting a little bit of a bird's eye view into the story. But yeah,
mm,
I like there's like even the writing itself, like the dialogue and how these characters interact, I think it's all top notch. It was just
oh,
again
absolutely.
my own expectations of thinking like, these are some of my favorite artists and writers. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then just going back to it, like, just what you said about like, this is kind of the origin of like Ambrose County and like whatever curse is among it. And you have the story of Enfield, who in the first issue is thinking, yeah, I think I'm going to give up this like outlaw life in a land where the law is coming to, and
Hmm.
he makes this choice, but like too many wheels were turning, and like one of the questions I'm still left with is, did the sheriff who like resigned his position, did he really ever solve? Like I can't remember if in issue 5 if he like really solved who did the actual murder that
Yeah, I don't
the
know.
marshal is going after Enfield and his gang for. And in the end of it too, it's just like everybody knows what happens to Enfield. It's in the beginning. It's in chat. It's in the first issue, like of what happens to Enfield. So we know we get there. We know that he dies,
Mhm.
and and it just seems like at the end of it, he's not really being executed because of the crime they were chasing him after him for. They're just doing it because of all of his past sins, which he had already sort of like said like, hey, I'm gonna repent and like change my ways and get like a real steady job.
Hmm.
And just, yeah, like I said, too many things just already had happened, and so they went after him super hard and destroyed his entire gang, and then it
Right.
eventually destroyed him. And then just those last few panels of his now widow were just
Hmm.
very, very like emotionally like jerking. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
just, yeah.
And
So
just like the tease that it has before it of just kind of
mhm,
like her fantasizing about what could happen, and then it just doesn't, you know?
yeah.
Um yeah, I yeah, I thought that I do think that this is I think this and number one were probably my favorite issues. Whichever issue they have
No, that's great.
yeah. Well,
Like
that's
it's like a sandwich. Like if you have a sandwich that has really good bread, the bread sometimes can be the best part of the sandwich.
that's not I mean, yeah, maybe that's true. But imagine I'm just picturing like a reverse sandwich where it's just like all the condiments on one side, the bread, and then like the cheese and the what do people who eat meat eat? I was gonna say spaghetti. What the hell goes on a sandwich?
Yeah.
Bologna. There we go. Oh my goodness. You can tell I just don't eat sandwiches very much. But yeah, I
No.
mean, overall, I did enjoy it, but I think I just failed. My own expectations kind of let me down.
Well, and like, but I also agree with you too. Like it's not as good as that Texas blood.
It's
Like
but again,
that
I think
Texas blood is so good,
it's
and Enfield Gang is also so good. But
mhm,
that Texas blood just has so much more of like so much more intensity to it,
mhm,
and like
yeah,
so much more like hanging on the edge of your seat because like of what is going on in those stories. Like it's like, when you're sitting in the movie and you're like you're right there on the edge of your seat like waiting to see what happens. And I
mhm.
don't feel like that really came through in the Enfield Gang Massacre because you kind of already knew the ending when you started the story.
Or the fact that it's right there. That you
Yeah.
look on the title and you know what happens. And I don't think that that's necessarily a fault. You can do that, but you need to be able to make that payoff. It's like Dave Chappelle has that joke where he's like, "I'm going to tell you the punchline of this, and you're still going to laugh at it when I say it." You know, and I think that that's how I'm not going to say the punchline because if you know it, you know it. But yeah, yeah, I really don't have much more to say. So it was, yeah, I'm excited to see what they do next. Is what I'll say. That's what I'll.
Yeah, and like in the end of it, Condon's kind of letter to the people was just saying like we have more of that Texas blood coming, and just be patient. So we know it's coming down the road, and if you have read that Texas blood and haven't read Enfield Gang Massacre, um, and you need something to fill that time with, read
Yep.
Enfield Gang Massacre.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so
Alrighty. You want
well,
to move
yeah,
on to the next one?
we got some more stuff to talk about.
We do.
What was our next one? Oh, we're gonna go back to some zombies.
We're going back to zombies. So I'm real stoked about this. As I mentioned earlier, just I want to get into reading trades more because I find that I enjoy comics more sometimes when I read them in trades versus singles. Because even like sometimes I can see in a trade paperback where I wouldn't have enjoyed that issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But for this, I can just kind of keep going and then just uh, get all the way to the end of the story. So what we're talking about is the colonized, and I don't know about you, but I personally really enjoyed this comic.
oh, no, I loved it. It was very enjoyable. I honestly didn't really know what to expect from it. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
I had read like the pub sum for it beforehand, and obviously I knew there was aliens and zombies, but just knowing how that story was going to be told, I just I didn't really know what to expect out of that. And by the end of it, I really enjoyed it. And another thing too, I didn't know going into it, but like this was originally published as single issues by IDW.
Okay, and then but this is out
Like,
by Image, right? Or
yeah, so
no?
even if you look
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
Image.
last page, they have like a showing of I think issue 2 from IDW when they printed
Okay,
it.
yeah, there you go.
Um,
Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have known that. I would just have see, I was gonna say, I think, and I know like some publishers like Scout are trying to push more towards releasing like one issue and then just being like, if you like this, pick up the whole trade paperback.
Yeah, the non-stops.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was you can see it on the back there. It was $9.99. And if like I don't I don't think that Image has to do that thing that doesn't exist where all of their first volumes are $9.99. They should just pretend that that's, admit that that's not a thing anymore, and then just now
Mhm.
start doing trade paperbacks like this and having them at $9.99. I would absolutely love that. I would eat it up. I'd probably buy one a month, but
Yeah.
it just needs to come down to be available and purchasable.
Yeah. Do you wanna set the story up for this one?
No, you can do it.
Well, I'll start with the pub sum just to get a little refresher because
There we go.
it's been a few days since I read it. But pub sum says, where there's aliens, there's zombies. These outwardly threats converge in the secluded Carbon Falls Collective. A second gen off the gritter, Huxley Robertson, is dealing with both loss and the elders' pushback against his plans for a fully sustainable town. Amidst those volatile circumstances, a vainglorious alien explorer inadvertently reanimates the town's dead. Add a rogue ATF agent into the mix, and let's just say this is a bad time for the sleepy town to be cut off from the outside world.
Yeah, that was a great summation. You did it. Why are we trying so hard each week? We can just do that.
Just read the pub sum.
I really loved the premise. Again, seeing something really cool with zombies that's not as to me is an original idea. The fact that there would be aliens that come, and what they say is it's such an interesting book because it has this like conservatism to it of like, listen, we want to be by ourselves and we want to do our own things and we don't want big government impeding on that. And then it also has like its progressiveness to it where it's like, yeah, but we want to reduce our carbon footprint. We want to be sustainable in our own society and not have to be dependent upon whatever. And I thought that the book and the writer did a really good job of showing the confliction between those worlds and people that don't want those worlds to combine. And also, yeah, just bringing those two ideas together and then also zombies and aliens together in a way that was believable, because I wasn't like, oh, this is a weird way to bring this in or whatever. But I love it that he's this so the aliens come as explorers and they pick up a dead body to kind of just look at the pathogens and see if they can have contact with these people or not. And in doing so, they blame multiple times for the malfunction being on the bad pollution of the earth. And so as they're like pulling up this tractor beam, that the tractor beam mixed with the pollution of the earth somehow reanimates corpses. And again, that's a really fun, cool idea. And I really loved watching the aliens have, I guess, how all of these pieces came together, that these aliens had to be integrated into this town, and this town is now dealing with zombies, but they're also dealing with the passing of their like first elder, the first leader, mayor, whatever you would call it, of the town. Just how all those ideas were like well blended together and not like it wasn't overbearing,
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a super fun read. I kind of liked how like the politics of the town played out, and just like, yes, this ATF rogue agent shows up, and you have kind of two different sides of conservatism displayed by some of the characters, because there's Huxley, who's the main character, who he was all about the town, and like it's almost even difficult to say that he was conservative, but like he kind of comes across that way. But then he had, I don't know if it was his number two or whatever, like Bobby Joe Bob or whatever his name was.
Yeah, it's something
who
like
was
that.
just like, no, we got to take care of all this now and blow things up. And so I really liked how it all played out. It was a super fun read. It would be fun to see more. And the other thing too is just like when I read that it was like, zombies versus aliens, I was thinking it was also going to be like zombies versus aliens versus humans. But it was really like the aliens were working with the humans to fix the problem that they started. And it
Right.
was kind of cool because like a lot of times when you have alien books, it's like, yeah, the aliens are attacking the humans. But in this case, it's like, no, like we're here to like study you and get to know you and see if we can like thrive together. And like I love that aspect of it as well. So
Yeah. I also love the designs of the aliens. I just thought that
yeah,
they were kind of like an original design to some. Obviously, they have like a little bit of the Mars attack like spacesuits about them, but just here I'm trying to find like a panel with a bunch of them in it. Um, but yeah, just the fact that they were all it felt like the aliens themselves had like a unique design to them. And again,
yeah.
the art is just so fitting of this world, you know.
Mhm.
I just feel like the whole thing overall was just a good work of art, and super enjoyable.
Yeah.
My only qualm is that the ATF agent gets smacked in the head with a shovel at like full swing
Yeah.
sideways. That would kill a man
Yeah.
instantly. And I
That would
mean,
kill a
like,
man.
yeah, he has like a cut in the back of his head. If you get hit here and you're bleeding, you're dead. You're not living. I mean, that's not true. You're probably getting stitches, but again, you're not thinking. You're not like,
Your chances of being unalive are high.
yeah, 100%. But it's just a nitpicky thing. I like what they did with him. I the themes of like being outcasts and like finding your people, like all, yeah, it's just all good stuff. And like you said, I when I finished it, I wanted more. I was sad that it was done.
Yeah. No, but it was super fun read. I'm sure you can find this at your local comic book shop. I'm sure it's available online. If any of you out there have read The Colonized Zombies versus Aliens, whether it was back when IDW first put it out or in this new trade paperback edition from Image, love to hear your thoughts.
Yep, 100%. All right, so we got two more that we both read together. These ones
Hmm.
probably will be a little bit quicker reviews, but
Yeah,
up next
we're
we
good.
have The Nasty Number 6, which last week we were talking about how we thought this was the final issue,
Yeah,
and I'm reading through it. I'm like, boy, there seems like they're still setting stuff up, and then it got to the end and it said to be continued, and I'm just like, oh God, why?
yeah.
Why are you doing this to me?
No, like honestly, in the back of my mind last week when we were talking about it, I was thinking that it was at least 7 issues. I think it's actually 8 issues.
Yeah, I think it is.
But with that, it's like I've really enjoyed this story so far, but this is the first issue where I've read where I'm kind of hopping on your train of like this is really getting dragged out.
Hmm.
And I don't know, they're just this was not my favorite issue. I was really excited to read it.
Yeah,
And I got through it just fine, but it also just kind of left me like, can we get to the conclusion now?
yeah. Because
Because we
go ahead.
Um, well, I was just gonna say because like with Red, it's just we get it. He's getting more evil. He's becoming more like the character from the movie that he was imagined from.
Right,
And like I understand that. And we understand that this lady who hates the video nasties is going around towns and there's just too much buildup going on for this like climax between this lady coming down on them and then Red becoming more corporeal and actually becoming a killer.
right.
And I just don't think that we need more than 6 issues for this.
Yeah,
I might change my mind though by the time it actually does wrap up.
I
So
hope so.
yeah,
Like I never want to not enjoy a comic, especially one that I
yeah,
was already enjoying. But I know that you didn't like issue number 5 as much as I liked issue number 5.
hmm,
But yeah, it's still for me. I'm just very much of just like, man, can we get to? I want to see more of a climax, and I feel, and again, like I'm not a writer who would know how to do this, but can we consolidate some of this? Like, why are we just bringing up now that he's jealous of this? And I guess maybe they were in earlier issues, but like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't remember everything from earlier issues. I just remember the important stuff that happened to to continue the story forward.
yeah,
So I'll keep reading it. I mean, I'm already this far in it. I don't want to. it like I'm ashamed to admit that I don't want to say that, but like I don't really want to finish this, but I just kind of feel like I've already eaten most of my weird inverted sandwich, so I might as well just finish
Yeah.
it up, you know? So
I'm
that's
checking to make sure. Yeah, it's 8 issues. So issue 7 comes out next month, and then issue 8 comes out in at the end of March. So yeah, I mean, I am looking forward to it. I mean, the cover for issue 8 looks pretty cool. It's
there we
it's red and what's his name, Thumper.
go.
They're sitting in a movie theater eating popcorn, and everybody around them's going nuts,
Okay.
like attacking each other.
Oh. Oh. So I do like, and again, I really believe in the premise and I think it will pay off, but yeah, it just needs to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess lastly, the last thing that we're going to talk about that we both read this week is What's the Furthest Place from Here. We probably won't spend too much time on it,
No.
but I will start off by saying I think that this might be my favorite issue that has come out
Okay. So
for
like
this series.
okay, for the series?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Um, just because like it was really fun to see the Academy start taking their redemption.
Mhm.
Like it was just overall, it was just a great issue. Because there was so much buildup. So this is essentially the Keepers versus the Academy. If you've been reading along, you would know that like the Keepers are these adults at some like old zoo in the middle of nowhere, and
Mhm.
they trap kids and keep them like they're animals. A lot of them end up dying there. And the Academy, a couple of the kids from the Academy, one of them escaped, or at least we think they
Mhm.
escaped, and then one of them got caught and held back, and it like refuses to leave their cell, and the rest of the Academy kids have like rejoined together and
Mhm.
wanted to go save them, and just brought this full-on assault attack to the Keepers at this zoo. And it was such a fun issue. I just
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. I mean, saying it's my favorite might be like, I think it's my favorite. There, this is issue 17, so it's really hard to like
Yeah.
keep track, but for
Sure.
me it was just like a very exciting issue, and I loved everything about it.
Right. I think I would enjoy it more if I went back and read the rest of it. I think just because of how much is happening in this comic, I just feel like it's more enjoyable for me personally if I consume it all at once.
Yeah.
And I felt that way about when I read the first arc in the trade paperback. Not that I am not enjoying this, but again, it's just there's so much happening and so much is going on in between, just some my personal life and like other stuff that I'm reading, that it is hard for me to follow sometimes, but that's
Hmm.
on me probably more than the comic. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it still just continues to be one that I absolutely love,
I mean, there's about a dozen issues left before this series is over.
which is
Actually, I
wild.
think there's exactly a dozen left.
Yeah, 29 is what we heard.
Yeah. Um, and I'm really hoping, because I don't know if they're still doing this with these later issues, but I know at least the first arc had like albums come out with them, like
Yeah.
like you could get a variant that came with the vinyl. I'm really hoping that when they like release the whole thing as an omnibus, that there's like another vinyl that has all of that music on it, because I would
Yeah.
totally get that. And
Yeah.
I am looking forward to having that in my hands at some point in my life, to read the whole thing just straight through,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, because
just
I
to get
think
the whole story all at once. Because
yeah,
yeah, it's
it's
been a
not like
lot.
it's not like the other comics where like something happens in issue or in the first arc and then something different happens. Maybe it's somewhat connected to the first arc. This is all just one long story, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it
but
is.
even like stories of like certain events happening at the same time in different places with different characters, like there's so many like wheels turning in this story that yeah, it'll just be nice to get it all together.
Agreed. All right. That was 4 comics. And well, I mean, one of them was kind of like a trade that we read in there. So 3 comics and a trade. So good on us
Four
for all.
four comics in a trade.
What was the 4?
Exodus Z, Enfield, Colonized, Nasty, and What's the Furthest Place from Here.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We did it. Good job. The last one that I just want to point out that, or I guess 2, I read Sonic Fang the Hunter. This is just wholesome fun. If you like wholesome
Yeah.
fun, read this. They're trying to find an eighth uh whatever chaos emerald that they don't think exists. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then the other thing I read was Cobra Commander, which I thought was like just fine. I don't really have any connection to that world or anything like that. It's by the same person, I believe, who wrote Duke, but I enjoyed Duke much more than I enjoyed Cobra Commander.
Yeah, no, Duke issue one was amazing. I'm gonna wait for the rest of that to catch up and probably get the trade or get it digitally all at once.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, I don't want to hop on this train of multiple series for one world.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's already too much of that going on.
Right.
Um, but on the back of your Sonic cover, I saw Ninja Turtles, and it brought to mind something our pals over at the Comic Book Lair talked about, that
Mm,
Jason Aaron is going to be taking over the Ninja Turtles when they restart, because
right.
issue 150 is the final issue for the current run of TMNT, and
Okay.
a new one is starting out, and Jason Aaron is taking the liberty, and I use that word intentionally, to tell these stories. I like Jason Aaron. He
I do
does
too.
some really good stuff. My issue is that he does take a lot of liberty when he's taking classic
Hmm.
stories, and or sorry, classic characters to tell a story. Like
Yeah.
when he took over Thor, like I love that. But I'm trying
Hmm.
to remember, there was something else that he took over where I was just like, he need like somebody needs to rein him in. Maybe it was, what did he do? Venom?
I don't know. The one that I think of all the time is Star Wars. That he did Star Wars, and that I love that first
Oh,
volume. Like,
he did great with Star Wars. Yeah.
yeah, he did
Um,
absolutely phenomenal. So that's what I haven't read really much outside of that from him. So if
mhm.
if that's anything to go off, I guess I have like probably tangentially, but yeah, if Star Wars is anything to go off of, I'm pretty stoked. Well,
Yeah.
I say
So
I'm pretty stoked, like I'm gonna read it. I'm probably not gonna read it, but it's cool that that's happening, is what I think I mean.
yeah, but he just, that's kind of part of his reputation. It's like it's really hit or miss with him, just for people individually, when he's taking these classic characters, and he is a great writer. He is great at
Mhm.
innovating new ways to tell their stories,
Yep.
but in some ways he just really misses the mark, and in other ways he's hitting it out of the park.
Right.
So,
Nice.
I might hop onto it. We'll see. I can't remember when the first issue of that comes out. Um, I didn't really read much else that this week than we've already talked about. Chris
We already
Chaos,
yeah.
uh, I think, wrapped up with the second or with the first arc, and then it has like two more issues coming out that have more to do with another character that's in the stories. Um, but they are setting it up for what it seems like there's going to be more of the world of Christopher Chaos, which is, it's been fun. But I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with it after this first arc.
Gotcha.
Um,
How about Dust?
and
I've been curious since you told me that you read issue number 4, because number five's out, I think, right?
Yeah, so I actually have number 5 sitting here. So I already told you I read something last night. I don't really want to talk about what I read last night that much, other than I didn't enjoy it at all. But this was going to be my second read last night, but I was so wiped out by like guys, I don't know how to, like, I've never read a comic where I'm like, I just have to like push through this and finish it. Like I can't just leave it unfinished, but I'm really not enjoying it. Like the art was cool, like the art was well done. This story was just ah
I think you can
the
say what it
dial
is because it's a bigger title. It's not an indie thing, so we don't have to feel, I mean, it's
well,
kind of an
okay,
indie thing, but
it's kind of an indie thing. Okay, so
here we
it
go.
is the spin-off, or not really a spin-off, but it's a tie-in to the Rebel Moon uh movie that
Yeah.
came out not that long ago.
Mhm.
The movie was like fun, and I liked seeing where like Snyder was trying to go with it. And we're talking Zack Snyder, not Scott Snyder.
Right.
Um, Zack Snyder, I'm really sorry. I know there's some really big fans of his out there, but
Mhm.
for me, he peaked at 300.
Yeah, he has well, that's what I had a friend who watched Rebel Moon and didn't know it was a Zack Snyder film, and he knew instantly because he said within, like, the first 10 minutes, there's one of those camera crank, like, freeze frames, speed up things, you know?
Yeah,
And he's just notorious for that, and it's like, dude, it's been how long since 300 and you can't think of a new trick? you know?
Yeah,
So
because
I
like
mean, we're at the end of the
300
episode.
is 300 was a great movie, but
Mm,
like now it's just like it seems that he just keeps trying to redo 300 with different stories,
yeah.
and it's getting boring. And like again, like I didn't hate watching the movie Rebel Moon. It took me 2 sittings to get through it. Like it, I would probably give it like a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Um, so just above hating it. like,
That's where you want to
like
be sitting.
yeah, I mean, like, cause like, yeah, I wasn't like mad that I watched it, but like, I was fairly upset with this comic, and I told my wife last night, I'm like, I don't think I ever expect like a comic that exists in the world of a movie or show to be like, if the show or movie is bad, I don't expect the comic to be that much worse, and like this comic was just that much worse to me.
Oof.
Um,
Well,
so
anyways, tell me about Dust. Hopefully, Dust was better.
Dust, I really enjoy Dust. So this was issue 4 that's sitting back here. They are gearing up to go to town. I guess I'll put it that way. I don't want to give away too much.
Right.
But I think issue 5 is the last issue, so I have that sitting here. I'll probably
Okay.
read that tonight since I didn't get any other polls today.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And again, this was another Ross recommendation. Um, that dude that has all the good. Like he reads so much.
He does read so much.
Like he reads so much stuff, and you can get his thoughts too by going and checking out the Comic Book Lair. He does Marvel and Nagi with Kyle, and on this last episode, they actually had Ray on there as well, and they chatted Echo and a couple other things. But yeah,
Yeah.
Ross just really knows his stuff, and I don't think I know anybody who loves comics more.
Yeah.
Maybe Andy.
Maybe that's what I was gonna say. The only person I know is I want to get them two together. That's my dream, like guest for us sometime is to have them two on, so you and I can just sit silently and while those two guys just nerd
You know
out.
what? You know what I really want to do with those two? I want to have like a Marvel DC like debate with
Yeah,
them where we take like two characters and have them like argue which one is better.
like Spider-Man versus Batman, just the
Yeah,
ultimate. What's a better character? And I think those two characters sum up those universes very well. But
yeah.
anyways, that's for another date. Why don't we shoot this bird out of the sky and use its meat for a weird sandwich?
I was thinking more of like a stew.
That's fine. We can have weird bird stew, sky bird stew.
Well, this bird has hit the ground, and so
Thump,
you can find us on
thump.
all the social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram at the pullboxpals. You can find me at Matt_nerdy. You can find Monk at that Monk guy. You can find us on TikTok and Twitter. You're not going to find a whole lot there. We try, but we're there. We're there. You can watch us here on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And yeah, please like and subscribe, comment. Helps us out. We also just love hearing what you guys have to say about comics, or
Mhm.
if we say something stupid, like point it out, and we'd love to be corrected.
Right.
But yeah, we enjoy conversation, not just with each other, but with all of you as well.
Yeah, and I just, make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. We're at 188 subs at the moment, and I'd really love to get to 200. A lot of those are bots, so I would, but that's fine. I'm fine with
That's
that.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it was a good week. I enjoyed talking all these comics. We literally like just pretty much talked all things that we read as opposed to the last two episodes, which have just been like individuals. So a lot of fun
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah, we'll see you next week with some special stuff happening. But before that, make sure that you embrace your inner comic. Wow, I guess this really is the Enfield Gang
Zombie
Massacre, zombie, Texas
massacre.
blood